stream. So we're going to take its word for it. And then when I have it confirmed by me appearing on the screen, then we'll know that that's actually the case. And we know we need to turn the volume down. I thought I already dealt with that. Okay. There we go. All right. So sometimes there's all these things that we have to open and close when we go live on YouTube. I'm trying to come on a little bit more these days and give everybody an opportunity to see me a little bit more and be a little bit more present for all you people who come on and connect to my videos all the time, for which I'm always really, really grateful. You know, it's like, I probably don't say that enough. You know, it's amazing to be able to sit at home and just quickly record videos and do things and have people actually watch me, right? You know, it's a pretty amazing thing. It's a pretty mind-blowing thing to go, wow, there's actually people who want to listen to what I have to say. I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it as, you know, like, oh, I'm not worthy, but oh, I'm not worthy. No, actually, you know, to be quite fair, it's just really amazing. And I'm astounded by it all the time at, you know, what actually happens and what I actually have the opportunity to do. I'm actually at the present moment just giving people a chance to connect to us through Facebook too. And now you have my attention, 157%. Don't ask me why I chose that number. It's just a random number that I decided to come up with and to use, right? So I thought I would come on today and continue our series on what the lunar mansions or nakshatras of Vedic astrology actually are. Hello, Mary Madeline. Thank you for being here. Wayne's World. What do you mean, Wayne's World? Okay. Thank you for being here. I've been doing a series on what the lunar mansions or nakshatras actually are, because I really want this concept to be able to reach a lot more people, because the lunar mansions / nakshatras, which we're going to like kind of speak both of them, the words today, just to give people an idea of what it's about. And then we'll kind of just start using nakshatras because that's actually the real name of it. But I want people to be able to like really connect with them and understand them profoundly. Because a lot of times, yes, I know Wayne's World is a movie. Goodness gracious, I know I'm old, but but a lot of times when people see me doing my daily posts on the nakshatras, they don't know what they are. They just see words like Bharani or Kritika, and they're going, I don't know what that is. What's a Kritika or what's a Rohini? Because people don't understand what it is. And so I just thought it would be great if we could reach more people with the concept of Vedic astrology in general and the concept of nakshatras especially. So for those of you who don't know me, who are watching me for the first time, drop me a hashtag newbie over in the comments section. If you've been watching me for a long time, you can put hashtag old. I won't say what I was going to say. Long time. You can put hashtag long time over in the comment section. And if you're watching this on replay, drop me a hashtag replay. So a lot of people, as I was saying, aren't really aware of what the lunar mansions or nakshatras are really all about. So I thought it would be a really good idea to give people a general concept of how they tend to work. And of course, I'm going to do some question and answer over here in the chat window when I'm kind of done with my little spiel of what I'm here to talk about today. I also want to tell you about a couple of other things before we get started. My Empower Pack 3 consultation package is available for a limited time only until Thursday for $299. You get 3 consultations for $299 plus 1 year of free membership to Easy Astrology Society Plus, which is my online Vedic astrology learning community, which gives you access to 300 plus hours of Vedic astrology video courses, question and answer sessions every 2 weeks, monthly master classes, private tutorials, and more. I'll drop you a link over here in the chat window if this is something that you're interested in. And even if you're not interested in it, then I'm going to leave it over here in the chat window anyway. So, okay. In addition to that, I've come to understand that a lot of people don't know that I also offer half-hour astrology sessions. They're called the Power Boost, right? So I'm going to leave a link to that over here in the chat window, which is really also just a link to my astrological services page, but look for the Power Boost consultation there. And I do have a half-hour consultation that's available for people too. So let's go a little more into depth about what the lunar mansions or nakshatras are. So I did a couple of videos already and I touched on some of these, but we'll just give a quick summary of this. If you understand what the ecliptic is, right? The zodiac, so we're talking about the zodiac first, is 12 equal portions of the ecliptic, okay? If you don't know what the ecliptic is, when we are here on Earth and we watch the movement of the sun over the course of the year, the sun appears to move north and then south and then north and then south over and over again throughout the years. That apparent path of the sun, and we call it an apparent path of the sun because the sun's not actually moving, we're rotating around the sun. But the apparent path of the sun is called the ecliptic. Now, if you take that ecliptic and you cut it into 12 equal portions, you get the zodiac signs. The nakshatras are something that are completely different. And I like going into this brief discussion, and even if you've watched it already, because a lot of people want to think of nakshatras as subsections of zodiac signs, but they're not. They're a completely different entity. So what the nakshatras are is as the Earth is rotating on its axis, right, its relation to the stars makes it so that the stars are moving east-west over the course of the year, okay? That's a different movement than the north-south movement, right? So remember, signs, 12 portions of the zodiac of the, 12 portions of the ecliptic are the zodiac, and that's the ecliptic moves north and south. Now, the sphere of the stars moves east to west. So what the nakshatras or the lunar mansions are, is if you take that sphere of the stars and you cut it into 27 equal portions of 13 degrees and 20 minutes, we get what the lunar mansions or nakshatras are. They're a completely different entity and they actually work in a different way. And that is what we're here to talk about today, that different way in which the nakshatras work. You know, people often want to ask astrologers, especially if they're new to astrology, how does astrology work? And a lot of times astrologers tend to fall short of the mark with that. I'll be the first one to say. And a lot of times the response you'll get is, I don't know, but it does. And in actuality, you know, it's good to understand how astrology works. And I think the reason it's difficult for people to explain is it's more of a metaphysical explanation than it is a physical science explanation, right? So if you can understand the concept of the totality of the universe, right? The totality of everything, that which permeates everything in existence, okay? So some people, if they're of a religious mindset, might want to call that God. Some people, if they're more of a spiritual mindset, they might want to call that the universe or the cosmos. There's so many different names that we give such things. right? In Vedic philosophy, they have a name for it, which is Vishnu. Vishnu is the aspect of the infinite that permeates every single thing in creation. You, me, this computer mouse, my computer, everything is related to that concept, right? That which permeates everything. So what does that mean on a certain level? That means that the planets are connected to you, that the stars are connected to you, that everything in the universe is connected to you. You are connected to everything in the universe, right? So, I mean, you could even say that your experience here of consciousness is trying to connect to that totality of your connection to the universe. But that's a topic for a really deep discussion, which we're just trying to help you to understand what lunar mansions or nakshatras are in this particular conversation that we're having today. So let's get a little more deeply into that. So if we can understand that, you are connected to everything in the universe and everything in the universe is connected to you, the concept of the planets, that's connected to you, right? Some people like to think of the planets as being relative to archetypes that exist within your consciousness, but on a certain level, that's limiting them, right? All the ancient astrological systems tended to look at the planets as deities, whether it was the Roman concept of it, or Greek astrology. Vedic astrology is no different. In Vedic astrology, the planets are related to incarnations of Vishnu. Okay, so they are divine energies. And it's said in an ancient text on Vedic astrology that the planets are these divine energies, but it's also said that each individual is these divine energies. Okay, so the planets are something that are deeply connected to the infinite nature of the universe. That's a great way to say it. Okay, so some people are spiritual mindset, some people believe in religion, some people don't believe in religion. So I'm trying to give you an angle on it from all sorts of different perspectives. From the perspective of Vedic astrology, the planets are actual, gods. Okay, so they are powerful energies that behave in a certain way. They behave in a certain way. They have characteristics. They have stories connected to them through the relevance to the incarnation of Vishnu that they're connected to. So there's something that we perceive as being more powerful than we are, and that they impact our daily lives when we follow astrology. We see them as being these powerful things that impact our daily lives. In Vedic astrology, there is a name for that, which is called Janardana. Janardana is the aspect of the infinite that stirs things up in us so that we work through our karmic patterns, okay? So we can understand the planets as being connected to that. They're connected to deities, however you choose to relate to that. This doesn't mean you have to be religious to practice astrology, to understand Vedic astrology. None of those things are necessary. It just means that in order to understand the planets, we can look at them in that particular way. So going a little more deeply into this concept, we understand to a degree what the planets are. Let's try to understand what the signs are, okay? Because in order to get to the lunar mansions or nakshatras, we need to understand both the planets and we need to understand the signs. So the signs, the 12 different portions of the ecliptic, in one of the ancient texts on Vedic astrology, it speaks of the signs as being the unconscious limbs, meaning body parts, the unconscious limbs of Vishnu, that aspect of the infinite that permeates everything, as time personified, or Kala Purusha, okay? Time personified. So it said that the signs are unconscious body parts of the aspect of the infinite that permeates everything, that is here as time personified, which basically means existing within time and space. Okay? Now, an interesting thing begins to develop. But first, let's talk about why these signs are unconscious body parts of Vishnu as time personified. Well, they're unconscious body parts of it because they're not aware of the fact that they are that infinite being that permeates everything, that they are the universe, that they are the totality. They're not aware of that. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint here. Spoiler alert. Okay. You'll always hear people when they want to discredit astrology, they'll go, well, how can astrology be real? Earth isn't included in astrology. Your chart is Earth. That's Earth. That's you incarnated here on Earth. That's what your chart represents, your karmic patterns incarnated here on Earth. It's not you, because you're something much more than that. Remember, you're the infinite. You're not even the indwelling consciousness that's experiencing your incarnation. You're the infinite. Okay? You limit yourself when you see yourself as just the indwelling consciousness experiencing that. And you limit yourself when you see yourself as your horoscope. So I want to leave a little bookmark there and remind you that my 3 consultation package is presently open for $299. You get 3 consultations with me for $299, which is a very low rate. And you get that between now and Thursday before the price goes up. It's $299 plus you get 1 year of free access to Easy Astrology Society Plus, which is my online Vedic astrology learning community, which gives you 300 plus hours of video courses, question and answer sessions every 2 weeks, monthly master classes, private tutorials, and more. You get 3 sessions and all of that for $299. And I'll just leave a link over here for you in the chat window. So if you're interested in that, you can go visit that link. Okay, so let's get back to you as the infinite. So that's what the signs are. The signs are showing you incarnated. They're unconscious body parts of Vishnu because they're not aware of their infinite nature. The planets are more deeply connected to that concept of Vishnu, but we have a hard time understanding that as being connected to us as well, right? It's almost like when we're trying to understand those planets, we need a translator. I'm dropping a hint here. Let's see if you can figure it out, okay? And we'll be getting into that here in a moment. So to give you an idea, we have, just recapping, the planets as deities, okay? And, actually in India, they give offerings to the planets, right? When they want to make the planet work better for them in their horoscope, there are offerings that are given to the planets. So the signs, the interesting thing about the signs is they're noted, again, we'll say it again, as unconscious limbs of the infinite being, right? Vishnu, okay? So the thing is the signs are represented. I'll stop doing the hand thing. The signs are not represented by deities. They're actually represented by living beings. Like you have the ram, or you have the bull, you have the twins, right? So the signs aren't associated with deities, with the exception of a deity, ruling them through a planet, like planets rule the signs, right? But the signs are connected to living beings. That's another hint that your horoscope chart is representative of you incarnated. You're the infinite here incarnated. So what are the Nakshatras then? What are the lunar mansions? So notice the Nakshatras are very deeply related to the moon. There's a couple of reasons for that. The moon used to be understood and religious festivals planned and still planned in India to this day by the movement of the moon into a particular lunar mansion or nakshatra. Okay, and that is something that has existed for thousands of years. It's arguable that, lunar astrology, noting the movement of the moon against the fixed stars, predated the concept of working with signs. We don't have concrete proof of that, but it's quite likely that that is the case. But we're not here to talk archaeology or that aspect of it here today, right? We're here to talk about what the nakshatras do and how they work. So they're very deeply connected to the concept of the moon. If you understand, the moon waxes and wanes over the course of the year. If you live near an ocean or you visit an ocean, you get to experience firsthand the impact that the moon has upon the tides. The moon actually impacts the earth, right? The moon is so the moon-earth connection is so powerful that it actually impacts the earth's, own rotation. It really has a really powerful impact upon it, on the earth. And that's why the moon has such an impact upon the tides. Interestingly enough, the moon cycles also relate to the growth of crops, because the sap in plants will wax and wane with the lunar cycles as well. We're impacted by the cycles of the moon because we're mainly water. There's so much water in us. We're impacted by those lunar cycles too. It impacts our body chemistry. There's an actual, scientific basis for all of this, and you can watch it and you can observe it. And I know people will try to discredit that, because people always try to discredit everything that they don't really want to explore and understand. And you think that if they were being scientific, they'd at least explore it in order to find out. So if we understand that the moon moves against the fixed stars, if we understand what the moon actually is, right? So we can understand the sun in astrology as being connected to the soul, what we call the Atman, right? The soul of everything. That's the sun. The moon's job is to reflect the light of the sun, to illuminate the darkness. And the moon waxes and wanes in its capacity to do this, right? The moon reflects the light of the sun and can illuminate the darkness. Only when we're in the dark of the moon, you don't see that moon. So the moon waxes and wanes in its capacity to do that. We have a hard time connecting to our soul all the time. We wax and we wane in our capacity to do that, right? So the moon relates to our consciousness. The moon relates to our consciousness. So what the nakshatras do, since they're so deeply connected to the moon, and the moon is very deeply connected to growth, is the nakshatras help to grow our consciousness in specific ways. Now, that doesn't mean that nakshatras are just related to the moon. They're not. You can have a planet in a nakshatra that impacts how that planet operates in your horoscope. You can have house cusps in a nakshatra that impacts how that house will operate in your horoscope. Nakshatras are multifaceted, but what they relate to in the horoscope is how we grow things. They're the messenger between your consciousness and your soul. They're the messenger between you incarnated here and the planets. And nakshatras are not simple on many levels, right? But they're not as complicated as people like to make them out to be either. And so now you're probably going, well, you just said they're not simple and they're not complicated. How can both of those things be the case? Precisely. But how can you be here having thousands of thoughts in the blink of an eye, feeling one way one moment and another way the next moment, and not really having any explanation for any of that? Because that is the experience of consciousness. So nakshatras, or the lunar mansions, basically so I just saw somebody's got distracted for a moment because I saw somebody's question over there, and we're going to deal with some questions here in a moment. So, if we understand the fact that nakshatras have multifacets to them, right? There are things when people are first learning nakshatras where they will kind of go, there's all these different qualities that nakshatras have, and it confuses me because a nakshatra can be passive and it can also be masculine. And that confuses a lot of people. And they don't know how to work with all of these things because it's elusive, and people like to kind of come down to one concrete understanding of things, but we're not meant to understand things concretely in that particular manner when it relates to the nakshatras, because they change and they alter dependent upon the factors that influence them. Like when a planet's in it, like if you have a Venus in a nakshatra, like let's say Venus in a nakshatra, a lunar mansion like Ashlesha, okay? So Ashlesha is sattvic or balanced on one level. Balanced is a good way to understand the concept of sattvic without a 5-minute explanation. And it's also rajasic on a certain level, right? Which means it can get agitated, worked up, caught up in illusion based on the fact that it's doing things due to that thing of getting energized or activated or riled up, right? That's just a simple understanding of rajasic energy, but it's much more than that. Venus is a rajasic planet. Venus in Ashlesha activates that rajasic quality a lot more. So if you can understand nakshatras as being connected to those factors that are interacting with them, then you begin to see that they're a completely different entity and they're not meant to be understood in a simplistic way. But you don't have to know absolutely everything about them all in one go, because the more you work with them, the more your intuition will pick up on what's actually going on with it, because on a certain level, that's how the nakshatras are meant to work. They're more deeply connected to your consciousness and your consciousnesses, we can say that, communication to your soul. That alters, that changes, that waxes, that wanes, that morphs into so many different things, right? So nakshatras are not like signs. Signs are a little more straightforward. They're a little more concrete because they are those unconscious limbs of the infinite as time personified. Signs also give rise to houses, which are the specific areas of your life. So signs are more concrete. Nakshatras are a little more ethereal, and they're like the messengers between the signs and the planets, right? They're a little bit more than that. I have I teach this a lot in some of my courses online, which, here comes a little bit of a shameless plug. Warning. Just a reminder, my Empower Pack 3 consultation package is available at present for $299. It's only available until Thursday at this price, and then the price is going to go up to $359. You get 3 consultations for $299. That's under $100 per consultation. You also get 1 free year of Easy Astrology Society Plus, which is my online Vedic astrology learning community, which gives you access to 300 plus hours of video courses, question and answer sessions every 2 weeks, monthly master classes, private tutorials, and more. That is a free gift to you simply for setting up the Empower Pack. For those of you who are interested in scheduling with me just for a single consultation to learn more about the nakshatras in your own horoscope, I'll give you a link to my astrological services page here as well. And I also, for those who don't know it, I also have a half-hour consultation there. It's called the Power Boost. So you can look for that there as well. Let's see if people have any questions. I'm going to go back to the beginning and see any questions that people have. But If you've been just kind of watching and you haven't said anything, just a reminder, if you're watching this on replay, give a hashtag replay. If you're a newbie, give me a hashtag newbie if you've never watched my channel before. And if you've been watching me for a while, you can put hashtag long time. Okay. So let's see if anybody has any questions. Is there any difference in influence by moon on us between waxing and waning? Yes, but it's going to be very relevant to the period of your life that you're going through, like the planetary period that you're in. So giving a concrete answer to that is a little bit elusive. So the best way to say it is it's connected to the period of life that you're in, right? Waxing moons generally tend to get us more deeply connected to things that are coming to fruition and tend to excite to a certain degree, even if that exciting of your consciousness makes you exhausted, because a lot of times people report being exhausted around full moons. New moons generally tend to take us more internal, right, into our internal process, because the new moon is about things decaying. So we become more introverted during those particular processes, right? They become more introverted during the new moon, more extroverted during the full moon. That's a simple way to understand it, but it is a little bit more profound than that. So Mary asked, what about aspects? Can you go a little more deeply with that in terms of the question that you meant? And I'll try to answer it. And if anybody else has a question, please feel free to put it over here in the chat window. And I will answer that. We'll give Mary an opportunity to put her question there as well, right? So, really, I would absolutely love it. The reason I'm offering like this Easy Astrology Society Plus as a free add-on to my packages these days is I just love sharing astrology with people. I love sharing astrology with people. And what better way to have access to this free membership? For 1 year, you get 1 free year of membership. What better way to access that but to also get 3 consultations and only have to spend $299 for 3-hour-long consultations? That's pretty powerful. So I put a link to my Empower Pack over there in the chat window. For those of you who are interested in that, we'll give Mary a few more minutes to go a little more into depth with her what her question is. And I'll also just leave the link for my services page in general. We have half-hour consultations, the Empower Hour. We have 90-minute consultations, the Empower Hour Plus, and 30-minute consultations, the Power Boost. Here we go. How do they relate to one another? Should they be incorporated in an interpretation? I think what you are saying is, how do nakshatras relate to aspects? Yes, aspects do get included in, in nakshatra interpretation, right? But the important thing to remember is when you're first getting into learning things and you're trying to balance all of these things simultaneously, it becomes a bit overwhelming, right? Go into detail, like, almost kind of like, I want to use the phrase, crunch your mind with all of this information, because eventually it just becomes like intuition and second nature. And then you don't really have to think about it. You'll just look at a chart and you'll go, oh, this planet's here and it's influencing this planet and both are in these lunar mansions. Here's the experience that's being created. And you'll be able to pick it up like that. Which text teaches us the characteristics of the nakshatras? Probably one of the best ways to learn about the nakshatras, I think you're asking about the characteristics in general, but one of the best ways to learn about the nakshatras would be to take my course, okay, as part of the membership. That's a great way to learn about it. That's a great way to learn about it. And then you'll get, I'm not trying to sound egocentric, but the qualities of the nakshatras that I work with in terms of the characteristics, like a nakshatra being of the mineral kingdom or of the animal kingdom. Those things are from the oldest sources in astrology. There's a lot of new classifications that people are doing with the nakshatras, and I'm not saying new is bad and old is good, but I have just found that the older associations tend to bear out more purity and more precision in that particular regard. There's a text that's called Taittiriya Brahmana, and you'd have to find a good translation of it. I know my colleague Ernst Wilhelm has one on his site. You can find that there, and it goes into a translation of the sutras of Taittiriya Brahmana, which gives somewhat of an explanation of how the nakshatra, each nakshatra works, right? In addition to that, a lot of the qualities of the nakshatras that are older and more pure come from Taittiriya Brahmana, but you don't always find that in a lot of texts. Another good text on Vedic astrology is Myths and Symbols of Vedic Astrology. There's a lot of good texts out there, but the older texts they're variegated. Like there's a lot of information on nakshatras that are taken from several different texts and put together. But there's also a lot of people, wanting to come up with new things with nakshatras. And I think that's good on one level, but we have to test things out over longer periods of time before we see how good those are really on a certain level. And I'm not saying that they can't be good, because they can actually be quite profound. Like I've seen some work on nakshatras being connected to ragas or musical scales, and that's always a pretty interesting concept. Let's see what else we've got here. How about compatibility between nakshatras? For example, I have heard for Jyeshta, Magha, Kritika, Dhanishta, Anuradha are the most natural and easy to deal with. It doesn't always work that way, because you have to recognize that there are many different aspects of nakshatras coming out in an individual. It can generally work in that way in connection with the two individuals' moons, which are how they react to things, but compatibility is a completely different concept. And one of the best things to really kind of go with in terms of relationships is, if you feel a connection with someone, go with that connection, right? Don't let astrology decide the connection, because sometimes we are here to learn even from the most difficult of relationships, right? So don't base your falling in love just upon astrology, okay? Because you'll limit yourself in life. All right, we'll see. We'll give people, I can take one more question over here in the chat window. I'm going to give one more shameless plug here at the end. We'll start with just my astrological services page, where you can schedule either 30-minute, 60-minute, or 90-minute consultations. I'll put the link here. And I will answer a question before I go to the last thing, which I'm going to talk about. Can nakshatra positions be seen in the D9 as well? The way that I work with nakshatras and divisional charts is I don't put, if a planet is, let's say, in Rohini nakshatra, in the main birth chart, the D1, then regardless of what sign it's in the D9 or the D10 or the D30, it's still going to be in Rohini nakshatra, right? So the way I work with nakshatras in divisional charts is I just keep them in the same nakshatra that they're in the D1 chart. Why do I do that? Because I'm of the mindset that nakshatras being connected to the fixed stars are an astronomical element of astrology. They're related to actual astronomy. And the only chart that reflects actual astronomy in the horoscope is the D1. It's an actual representation of the astronomical position of the planets, the aspects between those planets, etc. So I don't change nakshatras going into a divisional chart. Like, for instance, as I was saying, if you've got Jupiter in Rohini nakshatra, let's say Jupiter in your D10 chart is in Libra, it would still be in Rohini nakshatra, right? That doesn't change, in my opinion, because nakshatras are related to the astronomical part of astrology. Okay. So once again, if you just want to schedule a consultation with me, you can put that over here. Sorry, you can't put that over here. Everybody's asking such good questions, so I'm not going to put that in there yet. Right. It's okay. So, okay. Right. All right. So I won't go deeply into that. So if you want to schedule a consultation with me, 30-minute, 60-minute, or 90-minute, here's my astrological services page. Also, once again, until Thursday, you can have a package of 3 consultations with me, $299. Plus, you get 1 free year of access to Easy Astrology Society Plus, which gives you 300+ hours of Vedic astrology video courses, question and answer sessions every 2 weeks, monthly master classes, and private tutorials. Here is the link where you can set that up. And thank you for watching, everybody. And I'll talk to everyone the next time I come on. Bye for now. And please, as always, do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.